What's up, everybody? I'm Scott.
I'm Jason.
And you are listening to the reassembled Liquid Carnage.
Boy, we were off for 1 week, and I felt like I was totally out of whack, totally out of field, left field.
And
it was awful.
You're still not quite 100% back. You can tell in your voice. And I got sick shortly after our show, too, so I spent the week trying not to lose my voice.
You know, the people who think that you have the velvety butter voice, though, are going to think that I am the one that caused you to get sick.
Yeah.
And that's not good.
That's not the case, though.
Oh, thanks,
brother. That is not the case.
Thank you, my friend.
You had strep throat. I had some form of the flu that I wouldn't wish on anybody.
Well, I heard the podcast that I missed out on. And it sounded pretty good. I got to admit, it sounded pretty good.
I do want to thank our EP, Tom, and thanks, Stephanie, for coming in here and helping hold down the fort while you were recovering, if you will.
I was on strep throat for 2 weeks, and I don't wish that upon anyone.
No.
That's neither here nor there, but I never wish that upon anyone.
No, I don't either. And I'm just glad you're back. I'm glad we're getting back to basics. You know, the new year is coming upon us fast. We have one big event for our fans.
I'm excited.
On Friday.
Let's talk a little bit about it now. So,
Friday night,
December
29th, 6 p.m. At the House of Hops in
downtown Kingman, Arizona.
We have the Hans Gruber Jingle Bars Pub Crawl.
Oh, it sounds so good.
It's gonna be fun. It's a good time. It's nothing that's gonna be expensive except for the drinking, and we're just gonna start off at the House of Hops. Anyone that wants to join us, it's free of charge. And we'll go down to.
We have games.
We'll have some trivia games.
We'll have some trivia games.
We might have some giveaway stuff. And if you could hang with us on all 5 stops, we will be recording a show afterward. We have got permission to go to the Cricket's Nest of the Rickety Cricket Brewing Company and record upstairs while there's all sorts of nightlife going on downstairs.
Well, all right. It's a date.
It's a date. Friday night, December 29th. Be at the House of Hops at 6 p.m. if you want to join us on this. It's free to anyone over the age of 21.
I heard last week's podcast, and there was not one talk of any lists in that, and it really hurt me. It really upset me. Because you know me, I love my structure. I love my list.
You do love your list. And Tom was still kind enough to give us a breakdown of the show, even though he was on the show.
He did.
And he treated himself like a guest. I want to say it was impartial, but I'm not quite sure what level of impartiality there was.
Well, so my thought is we're getting close to the end of the year.
Yeah.
And I thought, maybe we should talk a little bit about the year in review.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about things that happened during this year. We had a lot going on in 2017.
Absolutely.
Whether you're talking about entertainment news, whether we're talking about news, sports. So much happened. And
so much happened in our lives, too. And we'll get to that over the next couple weeks.
Weeks, exactly.
We've grown a lot. We started recording back in February. We didn't actually launch till
May 11th was our first show, Tattoo.
That you guys got to listen to. We started putting this show together back in the first part of February around Starbucks, around the table.
Yeah, I remember. We were coming up with names. We were coming up with how we were gonna call ourselves Barguments at first. Remember that was gonna be our name.
We were gonna be Barguments. Turns out there was already
a
defunct podcast already, not in use anymore, but still out of common courtesy. We created Liquid Carnage.
Very good.
And we are growing with you every week, and we hope you are continuing to listen to us every week. And we find a way through your work day to help you kill some time.
Yeah, and maybe laugh a little bit.
Yeah, I think so.
But so Scott, my recommendation was over the next couple weeks, we're going to just talk about big things that have happened in the world of sports, entertainment, and just regular news. Now, because of our current newsworthy things that are going on, we may not even have a president in 2 or 3 weeks. So that might be a news story that might make number one news.
I'm not going to commit to talk about anything President Trump has done until we actually know what's going to happen there, because the man is there are no words to describe it.
We don't like to get too political on the show, but if we were to get political, I think that he's probably going to dominate most of the top news stories of 2017.
Well, exactly. And
I
don't want to leave the show angry because it's very frustrating for me on a lot of levels. But you want to talk about sports today?
Why don't we talk about sports? We'll start with sports. We'll talk about the top things that happened in 2017.
There's a lot of great things. A lot of fun sporting events and activities happened this year.
Well, there was a lot of big stuff that happened this year. Some good, some not so great.
Yeah.
But we're hoping this podcast and the other 2 that are coming up over the next couple weeks will be a time capsule of what kind of things are going on in your life.
Absolutely.
So you can look back 30 years from now when you're when you're one of the 13 million people who listen to Liquid Carnage every year. You'll look back and remember when I was one of the founding members of the fan club.
Of the Army.
Of the Army.
The
of Liquid Carnage.
Army.
Exactly.
Do we want to call it the Army or the Liquid Carnage Corps? I like the Liquid Carnage Corps.
I think we need to wait and see what happens after Hans Gruber. We might have a totally new name.
That's true. That's true.
Because we could call the Liquid Carnage Diehards at that point, you know?
Oh, God, that'd be great. That'd be great. So, all right, what is the first major event of 2017 in the sporting world, Jason?
Okay. Let's start with just something that was just at almost the very beginning of 2017. We'll just call it a Super Bowl shocker. Mm-hmm. The Atlanta Falcons had it. They were up 28-3. They were so close to glory. Then they blew it. The Falcons allowed the New England Patriots, who boast several ties to Donald Trump and represent an evil NFL empire of sorts, to mount the biggest comeback in Super Bowl history for a shocking win. The unbelievable outcome was so traumatic, it even had many folks experiencing presidential election flashbacks. I'm sorry, that just makes me chuckle.
I have to laugh at the amount of references that Trump had. They had the Trump on this.
So let's talk about it. So first of all, what do you think was more important for you? That Tom Brady was able to generate that come from behind win, or the Atlanta Falcons choked as much as someone eating a 15-ounce piece of steak?
I'll be the first one to tell you, I respect the Patriots. You can say what they want, the cheat gate, deflate gate, whatever the hell they've done over the years. Even you've taken away their tools, and they still find ways to win. That's a team that I'm not a big fan of them, but I'll respect what they've done, and I'll respect Tom Brady for what he's done. And I think it says more about Tom Brady and what he can do, because that's aside from Rob Gronkowski, the receiving core has never been set. The running, you never know what running back. You can't use any running back for the Patriots in fantasy football because you never know who's going to get the rock every week. Brady has been consistent, and he's got ice in his veins. And it says more about him staying cool and staying calm that late in the Super Bowl and pulling it out.
Okay, are you good?
I'm good.
I take the opposite approach because while Tom Brady's comeback was impressive, very impressive, you have to look at many of the opportunities in the fourth quarter that Atlanta had to just put a field goal on the board or just put a touchdown. They had the opportunities to do it, and they made bonehead, stupid plays.
And I don't disagree. It had to be a perfect world scenario for Brady to do what he did. And for whatever reason, Atlanta made that happen for them. And I'm not trying to take away from Brady at that point, but you're right. Atlanta did a lot of dumb things.
They choked that game. Yeah. There's no excuse why that team, even with Tom Brady, that they should have given up a 25-point lead.
Yeah. There's
no reason.
Does this Super Bowl win make Brady the best quarterback of all time?
I don't think this one did. I think the one that when they beat the Seahawks made him the best.
Yeah.
This one definitely cements it, though. Why don't you have a ring for each finger on your hand? Yeah. I'll give him that.
There's no conversation.
And, if we're talking 2018, I have a feeling we're going to be saying a very similar story.
Yeah.
But that's for next year's podcast.
Carson Wentz injury in yesterday's Rams-Eagles game.
Yeah.
The NFC is wide open. The AFC is wrapping up as we speak. The Patriots are resting players.
But you're right. We're going to focus on 2017. So number one story was the shocking win by the Patriots to win the Super Bowl.
On a side note to that, I saw one of the greatest rivalry trolls ever when I was in New Orleans.
Okay.
The Saints and Falcons, it's one of the biggest rivals in the NFL.
Okay.
We had a chance to check out the Saints and the Bears. It was a great game. Superdome was a fun place to watch.
Oh, okay. I've never been to a game there. Okay.
And we're walking out of the stadium. The Saints just had this massive win, and the crowd was going nuts. And right in front of me is a dude wearing a jersey, a number 25 jersey. And the first thing I think when I see 25 in Saints is Reggie Bush.
Yeah.
No, man. He had it customized. It said ATL. He was trolling. Atlanta led by 28 or 25. so the nameplate was Atlanta led by.
Oh, wow.
And then 25.
Okay, wow.
And it was, if you control your rival team like that, that's classic, man. More props and respect to that guy.
Oh, boy. Okay.
What's the next time?
All right, next story. The Warriors debated dominance. After the super stacked Golden State Warriors are the super stacked Golden State Warriors good for basketball? Are they bad for basketball? Are they Doesn't matter. Pick a stance, any stance, and you'll find someone with a hot take opinion to share. And share their good feelings about Golden State is exactly what people did online, whether fans on Twitter or columnists on major websites. There's much to be debated, however. The Warriors were utterly dominant while winning their second title in 3 years, and the sports world couldn't look away. Let's remind people, for those of you who don't watch basketball, they won their first 15 playoff games out of a total 16. Yeah. No team had ever done that before. They only lost one game in the entire series, or in the entire playoffs. They thought that, we can even compound the story because Kevin Durant left Oklahoma City for a team that had already won a championship. Yeah. But Kevin Durant carried the Golden State Warriors. He was the MVP of the series. I think he averaged 31 and 12 or something over the course of the game.
It was insane numbers.
It was insane numbers. What do you think? Is it good for basketball or bad for basketball to have a team that dominant?
I'm an Arizona fan to the end, so we're mostly mid-market, small-market teams and everything. I believe in the salary cap. I believe it keeps everything competitive. This is $1 billion business. And the Warriors found a way to make the system work for them. And it's going to work for them for a very long time. That's still a young team, and it's still a very good and dangerous team. And you're starting to see more teams around the NBA clone what they're doing. And I think it's just the start of the next trend where the rich get richer. I think Kevin Durant's a fantastic player. I loved watching the finals because I cannot stand LeBron James.
Yeah, well, and I mean, let's look at it, though. So LeBron James started the super team, right? Yeah. He went to Miami.
Yeah.
Chris Bosh, Dwayne Wade, him. Mm-hmm. But they played 4 consecutive finals and only won 2 of them.
Yeah.
So they started it. Then he moves to Cleveland with Kyrie Irving, Kevin Love, and he creates a super team. Wins 1 against Golden State, loses 1 against Golden State. Then last year they played a super team. I mean, that team was so dominant, so strong, so big. I think it's good for the game. I think it's good for the game because what it's going to do is it's going to make teams start to really reevaluate what do they want from their players? What do they need from their players? Do you get players just because of name recognition, or do you get players who are going to complement what you do?
I wouldn't call the Warriors 3 years ago a super team. I wouldn't call them 2 years ago a super team, because the super team you have to assemble. They drafted that team. They built that team.
Yeah, I don't know.
They picked up role players at the veteran minimums like most teams do around halfway through the season. Well, once they signed Durant, you're right. That's a mega team. That's not a super team.
Well, I don't know. The team the year before broke the record for most wins in a season.
Yeah, but they drafted everybody on the team that was a key contributor except for Andre Iguodala. Iguodala does not make a team.
No,
he's a defensive lockdown forward. But if I said, hey, man, the Suns signed Iggy, that's not going to change the fact you're still a 25-30 win team.
By the way, Andre Iguodala is from University of Arizona.
Yeah.
I just wanted to put that out for my boy Scott.
I'm well aware.
For my boy Scott, I'm just excited.
And I did read today that LeBron James is considering signing with the Rockets in the offseason now, forming a super team down there with James Harden, an ASU boy, and Chris Paul.
Now, that would be a super team.
It would be, but I think LeBron's lost a step, and I think they're having ball control issues down there anyway right now, and adding LeBron in there, who wants to facilitate more than score, with 2 other guys that want to score instead of pass, is going to be interesting.
So, needless to say, 2017 was definitely the year of Golden State. They didn't win as many games as they did the year before, but I think over the last 3 years, they have the most victories in a 3-year stretch of any team in the NBA. Well, the team is going to be good for a long time because I think Kevin Durant's their oldest player at 29, and I think it's going to be one of those things that they're going to be good for a long time.
I think so.
So, congratulations to them. They dominated everyone they played,
and I do watch the Warriors during the playoffs because the Suns aren't good enough to get in there, and they're a fun team to watch. I do like watching them destroy San Antonio and Houston, the Clippers. If the Lakers ever make it again, I'll enjoy watching them get destroyed too. But any season the Lakers don't make the playoffs is a good season to me.
Well, hey, good lead in because our next top story of 2017 is 2 names: LeVar Ball.
Fuck that guy.
If you follow sports and haven't heard the name by now, chances are you live in a bunker. LeVar's not an athlete. He's not a coach. He's not a team owner. He's an NBA rookie's dad. That's what he is. But the media still hasn't seemed to tire of his bombastic personality ever since he started laying the shtick on thick during March Madness. Now, I have my opinion on this. I will start this one.
You go right ahead, because I have
This monster fucking tool needs to just shut his mouth. In college, he averages 2 points throughout his college career. He never played in the NBA. Mm-hmm. You talk about a parent who's trying to live vicariously through his kids and doing more damage to his kids than he even realizes.
On a side note, both his younger sons signed with a Lithuanian professional team today. It just came across before we started recording. So he pulled one son, the son that stole the glasses in China, and his teenage son are on their way to Lithuania to play professional ball there because he thinks he can develop them there on his own more than the college system here can develop.
So who do you think is more at fault at this whole thing, LeVar Ball or Lonzo Ball?
Lonzo, it's hard to say. It's LeVar, because Lonzo's at this point an 18, 19-year-old kid.
He just turned 20, I guess.
He just turned 20. You know what the fuck you're doing at 20. Your dad is... I will give, for much as I don't like the guy, I will give him credit for being able to keep himself in the forefront of the media and keep people talking about him, which makes them aware of his brand. There are a number of people, I'd say the majority of people, that refuse to buy his brand because he's such an ass. But nonetheless, we all are very much aware of the Big Baller brand, whether we want to or not.
I've heard of it. I don't think I would ever buy it.
I wouldn't pay $500 for a pair of his shoes.
No.
I've seen them.
No.
I think there's no attraction as far as how they look, but,
Well, and let's just say that Lonzo Ball is a rookie. Mm-hmm. He takes a lot of abuse from other NBA players, not because of anything he's done, but because of his father's input.
Well, and also he's struggling as a rookie too. I think he came out too soon. He's not having a good season at all with the Lakers. The Lakers are a growing team, and I have to admit that LeVar's probably distracting the team from a lot of the problems, because if Lonzo doesn't have a good game, he blames the coach. He blames everybody but Lonzo, and that's a problem.
So where do you see this story going in 2018? I mean, it was a huge story in 2017. I think it put a lot of things on the map, that there are going to be overbearing parents. I don't think we've ever seen a father do this sort of... I was thinking of like Todd Marinovich's dad, but... Even that situation, it wasn't the same, because he wasn't vocally calling out the Raiders and saying, "Oh, you guys are horrible coaches because you guys aren't taking care of my son."
The only other similar situation I can think of offhand in sports in recent memory is Archie and Eli Manning, when Eli refused to play for San Diego if they drafted him, which worked out well for Phillip Rivers.
And it worked out well for
Eli. He's got 2 rings.
He's got 2 rings.
I don't believe it's... an overrated ex-quarterback's, overbearing father's problem to dictate where his son goes, because, you got the team that drafts you.
I would love to have an opinion out there. So if you're a parent, or you have an opinion about what the role of a parent should be when it comes to raising your child in a sports world, go to our Facebook account at Liquid Carnage, put a comment, hashtag overbearing fathers, hashtag LeVar Ball. I don't know if I want to hashtag LeVar Ball, because then it goes to his feed, right?
No, it doesn't go to his feed.
Okay, well then we were better at that, but I'd love to have some opinions. Me personally, I think there's a fine line that he crossed like moons ago.
Yeah.
And he did it in 2017. Thank you for that.
Yeah, let's stop talking about that guy, because I'm tired of him.
Oh yeah. Sporting event number 4 that shaped 2017, Mayweather versus McGregor.
Oh, we purchased this fight.
Will this boxing match between a 40-year-old pugilist and a 28-year-old mixed martial artist actually be any good, or will it be a bore? That's what everyone's wondering after the fight was finally announced in June after months of anticipation. We can say 2 things for certain, though. It will be hyped, which it was, and McGregor has already landed some solid early blows versus social media. So this must be an old story. This must be like old stories, because it was already done.
Yeah, we probably don't have to go over everything with that, with what happened with the topic. But I can tell you, we purchased that fight, and it was all right.
Was it a good fight?
It wasn't a $100 fight.
Okay.
It wasn't a $100 fight at all. I mean, there were a few moments at the start where you thought Conor might have a chance to actually pull off this upset. And then you watch Mayweather, and Mayweather's known for being a very boring boxer because he just wears you down.
Right.
And you can see where the gas just...
He's technically a good fighter, but he's not going to wow you with...
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, he's not going to... He's bombastic verbally, but like fight-wise, if I never have to pay for one of his fights, I'll be okay.
Okay.
And not that he cares, because he walked away with $100 million plus for this fight, so I think he's done.
Now, isn't that the biblical sign of Armageddon, where someone from Ireland can come over to this country who's not even a boxer and make $100 million and not even...
Well, hell, man, if Floyd Mayweather wants to fight me for that money, I can
Shit.
I can tie him up.
I would
for
fight for
minutes.
$100 million too.
I can tie him up for 20 minutes. He's small. I'm twice his size.
Have you ever thought about wanting to be a boxing promoter?
I thought about
like
that.
Don King? You could have been like a boxing promoter and promoted a fight.
I feel like I could. That's something I can excel in the sports world.
I think so too.
I think I could really excel in the boxing world.
And I'm hoping that we can use the platform of Liquid Carnage to propel you into the Don King.
We need a fighter first. We need to find a fighter. If we have a fighter that follows the show, hit us up. We'll help promote you. We'll see about getting you on a card. We don't know the first thing about fight promotion, but we can Google it and figure it out.
Oh, by the way, we have a person named Stephanie Reynolds who's looking for a date too. We'll just promote everything in 2017.
We will pay for the fourth date if you can make it through the first three.
If you can make it through the first three, then you're fine. It was. I didn't even watch the fight, but it looked like it was pretty.
It was entertaining. It was better than it could have been.
Okay. Real quickly, so quick ones. Clemson upsetting Alabama. Now we
that
talked
is not
about
an upset.
You didn't think it was an upset.
It was a rematch of the year before.
And the
game was close the year before too.
Deshaun Watson was there his junior year and his senior year. Mm-hmm. An amazing talent. Mm-hmm. He beat a team that everyone thought the defense was good. You don't think that was an upset?
I don't. I understand that Alabama led, as the number one team wire to wire last year, but Clemson wasn't far behind. They weren't a team that came out anywhere. I mean, they were in the playoffs the year before. They were in the national championship game the year before.
Hey, all I know is
it was a close game the year before.
They took a Ohio State team that was pretty damn good and shut them out.
Yeah, but Ohio State's proven they can't play in the playoffs.
Oh, wow. That you might need to edit that because
no, I don't.
One of the people that listens to our podcast.
I'm not the one that thinks that. If they were who people claim they are, they'd have beaten Alabama to get in to the playoffs this year.
That's true. But they had one bad loss this year against Iowa.
I don't know. I'd say two bad losses. Oklahoma did beat them at home.
Yeah, but Oklahoma is considered the number one, number two team in the country.
The number two team, yeah. But that's before they were the number two team country. They're still coming up.
Yeah, they're up and coming. Okay, that'll work. All right. So you don't think that was an upset? I don't. I do think it was an upset.
I think when you have a rematch of the previous year's national title game and the previous year was close, you can't call it an upset when the other team gets the better of you. Because if that's the case, LeBron beating the Warriors 2 years ago was an upset.
True. It was an upset.
Yeah. Which it was an upset.
It was an upset. It was an upset. No one picked them to win.
Yeah.
Okay, quickly. Tim Tebow's baseball dream.
Can I pass on this? I hate that guy. Those baseball.
We all rolled our eyes when the New York Mets signed Tim Tebow. Then he homered at his first at bat.
You did. And what did he do after that?
He didn't do great.
Yeah, exactly.
But he at least played. It was a big story though because
it was a great start to a bad Disney movie.
It was a good story because it proved that his faith in himself and in his religion can carry him a long way.
I will never doubt the fact that he can, in fact, believe in himself, and he does believe in himself. The fact that he believes in himself so much as a quarterback is why he's not still in the NFL.
Maybe.
There's no maybe about it. He refused to take a move to a tight end. If he'd have been a tight end, he'd have been solid. He might be a second-string tight end in Cleveland right now, but he'd still be in the NFL. Instead, he's playing rookie league baseball for the Mets.
He's a two-player sport just like Bo Jackson.
Yeah.
Okay. Now
on to the next one.
Final story they come up with is obviously a big one for the NFL this year. Mm-hmm. Kneeling, Colin Kaepernick, the kneeling, the not standing for the national anthem. It has not only dominated the NFL this year, longer than it probably should have. Mm-hmm. It got involvement from the President of the United States.
Well, let's be honest. What hasn't gotten involvement from the President?
Well, we'll talk about that in a couple weeks. But how big of a story do you think, out of the 7 stories that we've talked about with Colin Kaepernick and all that, are we missing any stories that were really important in 2017?
the Houston Astros winning their first World Series title against a good Dodgers
That
team.
was a good World Series.
That was a great World Series.
Yeah, that is a big story. That was a big story.
That was a World Series that I was hanging on every pitch, and I'm not a fan of either team, especially the Dodgers. And, watching them lose is one of the greatest things I could ever see on that kind of level.
I'm sorry that the people on the podcast cannot see me flipping.
I know you're a
right
fan,
now.
but to see a team like Houston, again, that built itself up, that drafted right, and built their farm system, win a World Series against a team that pretty much is doing something similar, but still has $100+ million payroll, $200 million payroll.
Okay, now I've already said it once. I'm going to say it again. You have to remember, the Dodgers have a lot of that payroll tied up in guys that are not playing on the team.
I don't disagree. But
so a lot of that's going to go away, and they're still going to have a good team.
But your big-time pitcher didn't come up when he had to come up.
He came up in Game 7 better than you, Darvish. Yeah, hey, you, by the way, when you're listening to this, dude, can you pitch past the third inning, please?
What's the next story?
There is no next story.
Oh, are we going back to the Colin Kaepernick?
No. I mean, basically, so the Houston Astros, that was a big story.
It was their first World Series down there. Plus, after the summer Houston had with the flooding and all that and the hurricanes, it was good to see something happen to Houston that was a positive.
I think for myself, a big story that came out of 2017 was the invasion of Las Vegas into both NFL and NHL.
Oh yeah, we got the Raiders.
The
Golden Knights.
The Golden Knights are here. So Vegas,
Major League Soccer's there now too. The WNBA is coming.
So Vegas, I mean, I've always thought that Vegas was a great venue to have for sports. I really did. Mm-hmm. I mean, they have the football team is going to be sold out every week.
Oh, yeah.
Whether or not they have a fan base there, or people drive from Oakland, or people. There's always going to be a fan base.
It's the ultimate weekend spot, so you can fly in, catch your team there. Probably as you can to catch your team at home, and then have a good time and go home.
Right, exactly. Hockey, they've started off great. They have a great season started.
Yeah.
I don't know how basketball is going to do. I don't know if they ever get a basketball team. I don't know.
They have the NBA Summer League there. The national team plays there, practices there every summer. I think they're going to be okay. I think once it's the WNBA, it's kind of a toe in the water type situation. But I know the NBA has them on the radar. They've had the NBA All-Star game there a time or two before, and it's done really well. So I think it's only a matter of time before we have another team there. I think it's only a matter of time before baseball shows up there too. There's a lot of teams up for relocation if they don't get stadiums, and you have to take a serious look at it.
Well, and look at the Mets 51 is already there. Their franchise, or their what do you call it? The minor league affiliates there. So, I mean, they've already got a good start. So I think that's my big story for 2017.
Yeah, I think locally, regionally wise, for us, it's one of the better stories. It's one of the more uplifting stories that we get to have from sports. Just being fans, being so close to having sports now. We're an hour and a half away from the Raiders Stadium where it actually opens up, and about the same distance from the Golden Knights Arena, so it's kind of a cool deal.
Okay, so we both added one. We read about 6 or 7. To you, what is your biggest sports story? What's the biggest one that was, wow, that was very the biggest story in all of sports?
You know, I still go back to the kneeling. I think a lot of people didn't understand. I've had a lot of conversations about this.
Hell, we recorded a Vault episode on the kneeling.
Yeah, there's a
long time ago. Maybe we'll release that sometime next year.
Sometime once this topic is cooled off, but a lot of
Scott doesn't like to get too political because he gets scared that he might get hate mail.
Yeah, exactly. I can't get any more hate mail. A lot of people don't like the kneeling. It's hard for me to say I don't like it because I understand why. They're trying to raise awareness. And a lot of people say, well, it disrespects the troops and it disrespects America. And those people that say that don't understand that those troops fight for our rights to be able to do that. You don't have to like the fact that they're peacefully protesting, but they get to. And if that makes you have to take a deeper, harder look at yourself because you don't like the fact they're doing it, what are you mad at? The fact that they're making you aware of something you didn't like? Or are you mad at the fact that they're not doing it the way you would do it, or you would want them to do it? So I think that raised a lot of social awareness and started a lot of conversations. I know the NFL and the NFL Players Association agreed for the NFL would give like $90 to $100 million to those inner city programs that would benefit, lives that they're trying to enhance. So I think I think it's been resolved. I mean, as far as I know, it's been resolved. But it was a pretty hot topic there. There's a lot of controversy online on the social media. People saying, "I'm not going to a game. I'm not. If you can't do this." Our buddy I'm not going to watch this. And he and I got into a lot of rows about this, and he still has no desire to watch the game. And that's a personal choice. I know there's a big push for people to skip the game on Veterans Day weekends, and that blew up in everyone's face because attendance was up that weekend, and so was viewership. So. I mean, everything works out for a reason, and I'm glad that was resolved. I'm glad that people were able to have their voices heard, or we at least were able to take a look at what's actually going on. So I think that was for me, that was probably the biggest story.
Yeah, I'm a little different, but kind of the same. My biggest story is the NFL in general.
Yeah.
It's going through a transition phase right now that some of it is very positive. We have an NFC this year that's made up of teams that are going to be getting into the playoffs that either haven't been in a while or have not been strong teams in the past, and giving a chance for there to be some changes.
Yeah.
On the negative side, you have the kneeling issue.
Yeah.
I think that they need to do something about the refs. This whole officiating thing has gotten so out of hand,
well, they have
where games are getting decided by very marginal, if not shady, calls.
Yeah. It's
very shady calls, whether it's something being missed, whether it's something being called that shouldn't be called a penalty. This whole thing, they have to fix this whole thing about what's a catch and what's not a catch.
Yeah.
And until they get that fixed, the NFL is going to be having some growing pains for a while. They're going to be in trouble.
The NFL has a point system that they review every game every week, and referees get points for and against versus plays they call properly versus they missed. And it was funny. I was perusing Twitter yesterday, and I follow the Cardinals beat writers. And Jerome Boger was our ref for our game against the Titans. And the only comment I heard about it was like, "Good ref, but be prepared for long-winded explanations about nothing."
Oh,
and
God.
I never picked up on that until I actually watched
the ref.
Then I realized, you're right, this guy talks about nothing forever. All he has to say is holding, defense, number 25, 5-yard penalty, automatic first down.
I'm with you.
Colin Kaepernick, I think a lot of people, he's not a good quarterback. He's not getting signed because of his kneeling protest. If you look at his numbers over the last 2 years versus what he was when he took the Niners to the Super Bowl, he's not a good quarterback anymore. He's been hurt. He's a system guy.
I could name 5 teams right now that would benefit from having him on their team.
I disagree, and I'm going to tell you why.
Okay.
This is why Mike McCarthy did. This is why Bruce Arians didn't do it. He's not been in their locker room. He's not been in their quarterback room. He doesn't know the system. You're asking a guy that hasn't played, and he didn't play well last year. So he hasn't played in a year, hasn't had any kind of offseason to study the playbook, and you want him to walk in and start because he's a name?
He's better than Brett Hundley. I'm sorry, dude. I don't know what you're thinking.
I don't think he does any differently than Brett Hundley. Because by the time he gets up to speed, Aaron Rodgers comes back and Kaepernick's back on the street.
Okay, yeah, no.
You don't think so?
No, not at all.
You don't think so?
He's better than Deshaun Kaiser. He's better than Deshaun Kaiser. Yeah, he's better than Tom Savage, dude.
That's a different.
He is better than Tom Savage.
I understand why.
He is better than Jacoby Brissett. He's better than Jacoby Brissett. Yes.
Is he?
Oh, yes, he is better than Jacoby Brissett. He could outdo anything that Trevor Siemian could ever possibly do.
No.
Oh, my God.
If you give him an offseason in the system, absolutely.
No.
But you want the guy to come in week 10 and not having played at all for almost a year, and say, no, you can start and you're going to do better than this guy?
Yeah.
No, you're setting everyone up for failure. It's an embarrassment. You can't do that.
No.
And you have to give the coaches credit, in my opinion, for sticking to their guns. You have those quarterbacks in that quarterback room because they know the system. You have to have confidence that they think they can run the system.
You're telling me that you think Tom Savage can run the system of Houston? You're telling me that?
Not after the concussion yesterday.
So my thing is this. Tom Savage had been in the system and couldn't run the system. You're telling me that a guy with experience and who was in a Super Bowl couldn't figure out a system?
That defense took him to the Super Bowl more than he took them to the Super Bowl.
I would argue that's not true. When they beat Green Bay, he single-handedly beat Green Bay in the playoffs.
So
single-handedly.
So you want to hand a guy a starting job off the street based on a playoff performance 4 years ago?
I want them to look at him and say, let's give him a shot, and not say, oh, he'll be a distraction, so we're not even going to give him a shot. That's what I want them to do.
He did work out for Seattle. He worked out for Seattle.
No, it wasn't Seattle. It was another team that they gave him a chance to work out for.
Green Bay?
I'm just saying that Tom Savage, if Houston really thinks that Tom Savage is better than Colin Kaepernick, but it's not based on his kneeling, you are smoking crack. You are absolutely smoking crack.
I think you're smoking crack if you think he can walk into any quarterback, any teams right now and start.
Yeah.
It's unfair to add.
I bet he wins a game. I bet if you walked him in right now in the last 4 games, he would win a game for Cleveland over Deshaun Kaiser.
I don't think Cleveland's winning any games with anybody at quarterback.
Oh,
I think they've proven that.
Mark my word. They should have won They should have won yesterday.
They should have.
And you know why? They didn't. But not because of Brett Hundley.
Actually, they did win because of Brett.
No, they didn't.
He did lock it down.
Deshaun Kaiser threw a fucking flailing ball that was intercepted at the 40-yard line that Colin Kaepernick wouldn't have made. You know what Colin Kaepernick would have done? He would have ran for a first down. He might have ran for a touchdown into the game.
Or he would have taken a sack and hurt himself again and not been the rest of the week.
God, I'm going to miss 2017.
Yeah, me too.
2017's gone. 2018's coming.
It's going to be here quick.
Yeah.
There's a lot of changes in the air, my friend.
So next week we're going to work on top 10 entertainment social stories.
The entertainment and social stories of
2017. Sports was a lot of fun this year, though.
Yeah.
I know for myself, I didn't stop watching football. It's like anything else. I'm happy with football. I just wish it was gotten better. Scott, good program. I think we got some good nuggets for remembering of this year.
It was a good show, and hit us up on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, all at Liquid Carnage. Tell us about your sports stories that you liked. Was it maybe something more personal? Did your softball team do all right? What about your kids' Little League team? Tell us about it. Drop us a line. We want to hear about it. There are a lot more happy stories out there than most people give credit for. So the happier the stories right now, the better. Because the world
reading these over, I realized there was a lot of good that happened in sports this year too.
The funny part is you don't realize it's been almost a year since the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
that means we're almost back to the next Super Bowl.
Yeah.
It's been a wild ride, man. And we're going to finish it off strong on December 29th at the House of Hops at 6 p.m. with the Hans Gruber Jingle Bars pub crawl.
And we're really excited about you being there with us. So
yeah, exactly. We've got a special host with Brian Binkney, our potato chip, who hosted us the other week, is going to come out and tag along with us and answer some trivia questions and have some trivia for us.
Well, and I think that we're also going to have a great opportunity because when we record up at the Crickety Cricket, the Nest, we'll be able to get you on the air. You can come on in. Maybe a New Year's resolution, maybe a homage to Hans Gruber.
Oh yeah, exactly.
I mean, we could do that too.
They won't let us hang you off the rails, and you can do your best Hans Gruber falling impersonation. But
that's okay. We don't want to lose anyone.
We don't want to lose any fans
on behalf of the podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
So
with that, we're going to wrap it up. Thanks everybody for listening this week. I'm Scott.
I'm Jason, and as always, if you never know quite what to say, just have yourself some Liquid Carnage.